I am 76 years old, and I am about to tell you something that goes against everything you have been told about aging well. For the past 3 years, I have deliberately stopped going out as much as I used to. I have turned down invitations, skipped events, said no to things I used to say yes to automatically, and it has been the best decision I have made in 20 years. My name is Frances, and I think there are thousands of people my age who feel guilty for wanting exactly what I chose. So let me tell you why I stopped apologizing for it. I know how this sounds. Every doctor, every article, every well-meaning adult child says the same thing. Stay active, stay social, get out of the house, join clubs, travel while you still can. Do not sit at home and stagnate. I heard all of it for years and I believed it. And I kept pushing myself out the door because that is what aging well was supposed to look like from the outside. It started with my friend Gloria's fall. We were at a monthly luncheon at a restaurant we had been going to together for 12 years. Gloria was 73. Healthy, active, sharp, exactly the kind of woman everyone holds up as proof that getting older does not have to mean slowing down. She was walking back from the buffet table and lost her balance on the polished floor and went down hard. She broke her hip in 2 places. 4 months later, after surgery and endless rehabilitation, she was still using a walker, and the woman I had known for 30 years looked like someone who had aged a decade in a single afternoon. After Gloria's fall, I started paying attention to things I had been deliberately not looking at. How exhausted I felt after social events. Not pleasantly tired the way you are after a good day. Depleted, the kind of tiredness that sits in your bones for 2 days afterward. How anxious I had become about driving at night. The headlights of oncoming cars doing something to my vision that they did not used to do. How much effort went into simply preparing to go somewhere, getting dressed properly, putting myself together, driving to an unfamiliar parking lot, walking across uneven pavement in shoes that were appropriate for the occasion, but not designed for a 76-year-old navigating a wet curb in the dark. I had been doing all of it because that is what you do. You stay engaged, you prove you are still vital, you do not become the kind of person who stays home. But when I was 50, I could go to a dinner party, stay until 10 at night, drive home, and wake up the next morning ready for whatever came next. Now, a 2-hour lunch leaves me tired for the rest of the day, in a way that is hard to explain to anyone who is not experiencing it themselves. It is not weakness. It is just the honest arithmetic of a 76-year-old body. And I had been refusing to do that arithmetic for years because doing it felt like admitting something I was not ready to admit. I started declining invitations. Not all of them, just some. The evening events that required driving after dark. The weekend gatherings in houses I did not know, with stairs I had not assessed and rugs I had not seen. The charity luncheons where I spent 3 hours being socially present and came home needing to lie down before I could cook dinner. Something unexpected happened. I felt better, noticeably, significantly better. My daughter Catherine noticed immediately. She called one afternoon and asked why I had not gone to a friend's birthday gathering. I told her I had been tired. She used the tone adult children use when they have decided something is wrong and are trying to raise it without saying it directly. Mom, you cannot just start staying home. You need to keep yourself out there. Dad would not want you to become isolated. My husband Gerald died 4 years ago. He spent his last 2 years frightened and confused in environments outside our house, every unfamiliar room a source of distress he could not navigate or explain. I know what Gerald would and would not have wanted better than anyone who was not there for those 2 years. I told Catherine I was fine. She remained unconvinced. That is her right. The choices are mine. When I stopped forcing myself to maintain a level of social activity that no longer fit my actual life, something happened that I had not expected. I discovered I genuinely enjoyed being at home, not as a consolation, not as a retreat from something better, as a life that suited me. I started knitting again, something I had loved in my 30s and abandoned somewhere in the decades of being busy with everything else. I read books I had been meaning to read for years, not books chosen by a committee, but books I picked myself because they interested me. I cooked elaborate meals just for myself, recipes I had always wanted to try but never made because Gerald preferred simple food. I gardened at my own pace without watching the clock. I organized 40 years of photographs into albums, writing the stories behind each one before those stories became harder to reach. And here is what surprised me most. I was not lonely. I had been told my entire life that staying home too much leads to loneliness and depression. What I actually found was the opposite of what I had been told. The low-level anxiety I had been carrying for years, the pressure to keep up and stay relevant and prove I was still fully operational, it dissolved. What replaced it was a quietness I had not felt since I was young enough to sit still without feeling guilty about it. Let me be precise about something. I am not saying never leave your house. I am saying that after 70, the risks of constantly pushing yourself to stay socially active the way you did at 50 often outweigh the benefits. And nobody in the conversation about aging well wants to say that plainly. Falls are the leading cause of serious injury for people over 65. Most of them happen outside the home. Every time I walked into someone else's house, I was entering an environment I could not control. Throw rugs, dim lighting, steps without railings, pets underfoot. My own night vision has changed. My reaction time is slower than it was. Every evening event required me to drive in the dark and navigate parking lots and make judgment calls that require a sharpness I am honest enough to admit I cannot always guarantee. And illness. A bad cold that a 50-year-old shakes off in 3 days can become something far more serious at 76. I watched two women from a group I used to attend regularly end up in hospital after a winter gathering. One of them was in for 2 weeks. The world outside my door carries risks it did not carry 20 years ago, and pretending otherwise is not courage. It is just inattention. The hardest part of choosing to stay home more was not the staying home. It was other people's discomfort with my choice. The comments from friends who are still pushing themselves to every event and need me to be doing the same in order to feel certain they are doing the right thing. Their discomfort with my choice is not really about me. It is about their own questions, the ones they have not decided to sit with yet. I leave my house twice a week now, once for groceries, once for whatever else genuinely needs doing. My daughter and grandchildren come to me when we see each other. One close friend comes for coffee at my kitchen table every other week. I call my sister every Sunday morning. That is my life. And I am happier in it than I was when my calendar was full of things I attended because I thought I was supposed to. This is not giving up. This is the decision to live at a pace that is honest about what I actually am at 76. Rather than performing a version of 65, I no longer have the body or the inclination to maintain. Staying home is not hiding from life. It is finally having the honesty to live it on your own terms. My name is Frances, and I am home.